When planning a new curriculum for your school programme, knowing what to include and where to start can be often the most daunting part. We all know that music is a universal language that is celebrated in every culture and society around the whole globe. So how do we narrow all that wealth of music down into maybe 3 or 4 topics per year for your students? This can often be a huge challenge, particularly if you're not following a specific external exam board criteria, and you have the freedom to create your own curriculum. And then last week I've been talking with colleagues about curriculum design. I thought I'd jump on here and share some of our discussion work with you. One of the big discussions we had was about the end in mind, because our curriculum that we were designing is the middle school programme. So how does it fit within the primary curriculum coming up to us, and how does it fit into going on to high school and doing the GCSE and AP courses? In all of our discussion, we talked about what the primary students needed to have in place by the time they get to us, and that is exactly the same conversation the high school teachers are having about what we need to give them in our students, or what we need to have covered with our students for them to have a good foundation at arriving at high school. So we kept coming back to the end in mind, and this is a really great piece of advice for any curriculum design. What is the end in mind? Are you planning your curriculum to prepare your students for the next exam, the next school year? What do they need to know? So for instance, when I'm planning my middle school programme for that sort of 11 to 14-year-olds, I'm really thinking about what good basic understanding of music do they need to have that would allow them, if all of them chose to, be able to start the GCSE music. How could they all start GCSE music with a good grounding? So that's what I'm teaching that over the 11 to 14 year age group. Well, the GCSE music, because I understand the specification and external exam criteria, is based around performing, composing, listening and praising. It looks at Western classical art music, it looks at world music, there's a little bit of pop music. They need to be able to read music to a certain degree. They need to understand musical elements and devices. So I don't want to have the whole of 11 to 14-year-olds doing curriculum that doesn't give them a little flavour of those key skills, because when they get to start the GCSE course, you're already in a situation where they're struggling because they don't have that grounding. So you really have to think about whatever situation you're in, and we all work in different situations and different, governing exam bodies and criteria our school asks us to do. What is it that you want your children to achieve by the time they leave your course? And that's where you start with your curriculum planning, particularly if you're redesigning the whole of that curriculum or you're changing units. What key musical skills are you going to need them to know? What musical elements are they going to need to know? And how do you incorporate performing, composing, listening and discussion work, that understanding of time and place and being able to hear or play and talk about in detail what they are doing musically, that musical appreciation. So really this leads on to musical elements, your pitch, your rhythm, tempos, dynamics, and all those good musical devices such as pedals. How do we look at balancing that within our curriculum? How do you incorporate that? So when you're writing your new curriculum, you've got the end in mind. What is it at the end of this unit or this end of this course do my students need to have understood and developed? What do they need to show me? Because that will lead into your assessment, because you'll know what it is that you want that student to study. So for instance, when I'm doing film music topic with M3, which are 14-year-olds, at the end of the course I want them to understand film music, film composers, how the industry works, so that like real world, real life link. I want them to understand about soundtracks, underscoring, but I also want them to explore composing in this topic. So I want them to create their own leitmotifs. So they'll understand a leitmotif is for a character, and that it was in opera and musical theatre and film and television, and they have to explore sounds. They have to use musical devices, they have to use tonality, so that sort of dissonant, clashing harmony for those bad guys, and obviously the opposite for the good guys. It's looking at how film composers use that and how they can then obviously experiment with that themselves. And that helps me plan the individual lessons so that I can lead to that assessment piece at the end. And the other point I'm going to leave you with in this very short introduction to curriculum designing is really think about what genres of music you are going to cover too. As it said at the beginning, music is a universal language. It's in every society around the whole globe. So not narrowing those genres down can be quite daunting. And of course we want to include pop music, but we should be including that world music and Western art music, particularly if they go on to do formal exams of music, the IB course, the GCSE course, the AP course, because they'll need that basic understanding, because that's what those units are in those courses. So when you're planning your topics, so you could be doing a whole topic on rhythm, and the idea is that they understand about syncopation. Well, this is a perfect opportunity for you to have jazz music or to have African music in there. So you can easily bring in all those different units if you're thinking about your musical elements. If you're thinking about the end in mind, I want my students to really understand the development of the orchestra. If you look at the Baroque orchestra compared to the 20th century orchestra, they're very different in how the instruments are used. So again, you can tailor your material and your lesson content to that once you know what your end in mind is, what your musical elements are that you're covering over your units, and what activity you're going to include. Your genres of music come into that as well. So there's quite a lot, and it's really hard to, really narrow that down. And that's what makes teaching music curriculum, particularly if you're planning your own, quite daunting. But it really is map out the whole of that course. So whether it's a 1-year course, so if it's like me, it'll be the 3-year course, and look at where have I got a balance in genres of music? Have I got a balance of activities? Are they doing a range of performing, composing, listening, discussion work, whether you do that as a written task or whether you do it as a Google survey or questionnaire in the classroom? And are they also having a range of musical elements? Are they having a range of genres of music, so that I'm not doing a whole year of pop music and another whole year of pop music and another whole year of pop music? Because it's really important that they get that exposure to different styles of music. Because although I plan my curriculum in that 11 to 14 year age bracket, that's of Key Stage 3, M1 to M3 middle school program, so that students can go on and continue to do music, because I would love them all to go and continue to do music. It can often be really hard for students to carry on their music, particularly our most able music students, because they're usually very good at everything. So narrowing down to maybe 4 options if they're doing GCSE is really hard. So I also want my curriculum to give them a good music appreciation, so that they help develop their identity, their understanding of music, their enjoyment of music, and to experience different genres of music, particularly stuff that they don't listen to at home or maybe not able to go out here in the local community. That's really important. So and I've certainly seen it where I am at the moment, students really engaging and really loving listening to music from different parts of the world, because being on an island, it's very hard to get musicians here to perform. So really think about, when you're planning your curriculum, what is it that you're working towards? What do your students need to be able to do by the end of that particular either unit or the whole curriculum? What genre of music, what musical elements are you going to include, and what activities are you going to do in terms of composing, performing, listening and appraising? Hope this gives you a basic overview of how to start curriculum planning. If you've really enjoyed this video, I will be making more of them. Please let me know how much more detail you would like me to go into. I'm really passionate about making videos that really help and inspire you as a musician to go on and do great things for your students. So please subscribe, share the channel, comment below and let me know topics you would like me to cover, and I'll see you again here very soon. My name is Rachel Hardman and this is Passionate About Music Education.